Brian Kelly would be clinically insane to leave LSU for Michigan. Why? Not because Michigan isn't a fantastic job or that there's anything wrong with Ann Arbor, but because he's already at a place in LSU where, believe it or not, at least in my opinion, it's easier to establish dominance than at Michigan. Now, there's a reason that Brian Kelly left Notre Dame, which is an established brand in college football, to go down to Baton Rouge. He saw what Bama looked like in the tunnel before they got ran over in the national championship game when he was the head coach of the Fighting Irish. He wanted to be able to recruit and sign the best of the best, a true even playing field. I mean, Louisiana is a state that is filled with talent every year to the brim, from the top to the bottom, from the east to the west. And LSU is the only power in that state. There's no Sparty, and nobody's spurring LSU to go to La Tech. Sorry, guys. But he already has found success there. And he's building a monster at a place where the biggest monsters roam. It's basically Mordor. All right? He's compiled an elite staff around him, and he just had the Heisman winner. Why would you leave Baton Rouge, where you have all of this momentum, to go follow the greatest season ever in Michigan history? There's no place to go but down. And look, Michigan's going to remain relevant regardless of what Harbaugh does. But the best chance to win bigger for longer is at LSU. And some will say, well, Jake, the SEC is the toughest conference in the country. And you're right. But the Big Ten just added Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA. It's not getting any easier, and there's no divisions, which will create more division. Ryan Day is trying to put the new Justice League together at Ohio State through the transfer portal, and Brian Kelly has already shown that he can succeed in the SEC. He won the West in year one, and the Emperor, Nick Saban, just left Tuscaloosa. The fact of the matter is, you can't make job place decisions based on purely emotion and fandom. And while Kelly's accent may be fake, his chance to dominate is not. So while some may believe the smoke if Harbaugh does leave to go to the Chargers or the Falcons, smells like a Jimmy Sexton special to me, buddy, which is always a good play. I'm going to bring in former Michigan quarterback David Cohn, my brother, former Western Colorado wide receiver Blaine Crane. Harbaugh hasn't gone anywhere yet, but you're seeing, you've heard this for a while. Brian Kelly, it's a dream job, this and that with a wiffle ball bat. And we have a ton of Michigan fans that watch this show. It is an incredible place. You just won a natty. Nobody's saying that Michigan is a bad job. But David, I know you played there, and that's your alma mater. But when LSU gets hot, they can get hotter than just about anyone. And you're already there. You're already established. You've got the hard part out of the way. Yeah. You've won early. You win the West. Yeah, you lost to Georgia in the Globonauts in the SEC championship game, but you did beat Alabama and Nick Saban. Then in year two, yeah, your defense got ran through like a finish line, but you had the Heisman winner. You've got an elite staff. You've recruited really well, and it seems like a pretty good fit.
Let me explain it to you in plain English here. Brian Kelly is not leaving LSU.
No way.
For Michigan. I agree with you that this feels like the Jimmy Sexton special, whoever he's represented by, to try and get a bigger contract or a new extension or something like that, for all the reasons that you mentioned. And it's not because that I view LSU as that much better of a job than Michigan.
And it's not that much better.
I see them both as top 6 or top 7 jobs in the country. Now, a couple things I do find interesting, though, is, Brian Kelly's the winningest coach in Notre Dame history. All right, gives that up to go to LSU. And for a lot of the reasons that we always talk about, you can put a fence around that state and the high school recruiting is better there in that state. Now, geographically, and not just geographically, but from a historical perspective and tradition too, Notre Dame and Michigan are very similar. Right? Yes. So to watch Michigan now go undefeated and win the national championship, I do think it's interesting, and Brian Kelly's having to look at that and look what Jim Harbaugh was able to do at a very similar Midwestern school that he was not able to accomplish while he was at Notre Dame. Something else I find interesting is 2 of the last 3 coaches at LSU have been rumored to be leaving LSU for Michigan.
Les Miles.
I will have to say, though, the Les Miles thing was a caveat. He coached for Bo Schembechler. He was on staff there. I think it's a completely different situation. And look, we still don't even know if Jim Harbaugh Harbaugh is going to leave. Jim Harbaugh may remain at Michigan, even though the news could break any minute that he's going to be the next coach at the Chargers. So we'll have to see. It's just, to me, from my perspective, as I sit here right now, you hit the nail on the head with he's gotten the hard part out of the way. You've already built up the foundation at your new place. You took the risk. It paid off early. You won the SEC West, and you just landed the #1 quarterback in the 2025 class out of where? The state of Michigan. I don't see Brian Kelly as going anywhere.
Yeah, and Blaine, again, it's smart to play this up, right? We see, coaches leverage this and leverage that to be able to, accumulate more wealth and get their contracts changed. But I want to go back to the point of Nick Saban just left Alabama.
Yeah.
Right? And I know Kirby has an absolute Frankenstein walking around in Athens right now, and that's not going anywhere anytime soon. But when I think of LSU, the brand of LSU, and I know, again, they were bad on defense last year. I think that's going to be fixed with bringing in Blake Baker and the changes that they've made. But I still, even though they're in the SEC, I feel like LSU is one of those 3 to 4 golden egg places that it's not a one-off of, hey, we had a bunch of guys that were seniors that played together for 3 or 4 years that now they won a national championship. It's going to take us another year or two to reload, to have that shot. I feel like LSU can recreate this every year.
I mean, yeah, they can. And you've seen that do that, especially with the transfer portal and NIL now. There's not a single reason in my head why Brian Kelly would want to go to Michigan. Someone give me a logical reason why Brian Kelly would want to leave LSU and go to Michigan, especially right now after timing. We're talking about following Nick Saban. You're going to follow Jim Harbaugh.
Go under-deliver.
After the historic season that he just did at Michigan. And the one thing, realistically, think about it, if you're Brian Kelly, I think LSU as a school wants to win a lot more than what Michigan does. I think Michigan, the fact that right now Jim Harbaugh, and you said this the other day on the show, is not getting what he wants as a contract from the school of Michigan.
That would never happen at LSU.
And NIL, too.
And NIL.
That would never happen at LSU.
If LSU just won a natty, all right, there would be unlimited resources and unlimited money given to Brian Kelly because they want to win that bad. I think Jim Harbaugh won despite being at Michigan. I think he's getting held back somewhat. I think the class that he had was deep. It's a class that he brought there and a bunch of guys that believed in one thing, and you saw that on the field. But I don't know how bad Michigan wants to win at Michigan, but I know how bad. I know how bad LSU wants to win a football game, and seeing that little Napoleon guy not walking around on that sideline anymore only helps them out every day.
Yeah, and we're not talking about the fans. Michigan has as many fans. You could land in the Ukraine right now and find 3 Michigan fans before you get out of the airport, right? So we're not talking about the fans. It's the administration. It's kind of how they go about their business.
Yeah.
Brian Kelly, Jim Harbaugh probably has to go ask for money. I think Brian Kelly could walk past a lemonade stand in a rundown neighborhood where nobody has any money, and they would give him all the money in the jar from the lemonade stand to go out and try and get another recruit. That to me, from an administration standpoint of what LSU is willing to do, right? And look, I understand the Connor Stallions thing at Michigan, but that wasn't an administrative thing. That was what was going on in the coaching staff, and that was Jim Harbaugh, in my opinion, being smart and being intricate with it.
Man, I think it's fascinating just from you guys from an outside perspective talking about the powers that be at the University of Michigan and how much do they want to win, especially coming off an undefeated season, 15-0, best season in program history. I think some things have changed with Santa Ono being the president now. Again, I don't know how long that'll last.
Santa's the president?
Presidents come and go. His name is Santa. Clearly, he has Jim Harbaugh's back more than even the athletic director, Ward Manuel. And I talk about this a lot with buddies of mine, and sometimes we're perplexed that Michigan won't go all in on NIL. And it's like, do you really want to be great again? Do you really want to win a national championship? Well, they just did that, and I think in large part they did that because of Jim Harbaugh. And maybe it's not even so much a Michigan thing. Even the Big Ten. We saw Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti suspend Jim Harbaugh for a rule that wasn't even a Big Ten rule.
Greg Sankey would have suspended Charlie Baker.
Exactly. You would have never seen that in the SEC. So I do talk about this with buddies of mine a lot. And the question that I've had the past 2 weeks here is, I wonder if that'll change now that they won a national championship. Now that Michigan's been on top, do the fan base and the alumni say, you know what, we could do this several times a decade?
Well, I wonder, either that's going to happen, or it's the other side where Ward Manuel and them and everybody involved in it says, see, we can win it without us having to do any of this other stuff. Like, see, we won it regardless. So
as you watch Jim Harbaugh possibly go to the Chargers
exactly right.
and J.J. McCarthy go to the NFL.
Everybody scatters.
Good luck.
Like roaches when you turn the light
Good
on.
luck.
No, it's going to be fascinating. We want to know what you think. We're going to open the phone lines up at 7:15 a.m. Central. We want to know which is a better job, in your opinion. Is it Michigan? Is it LSU? All right, let's get to the Booster Club.
All right, let's go to UT. He says Brian Kelly needs to win 10 games this year or sneak in the playoffs at 9-3, or else I imagine Brian Kelly's seat will start to get a little bit warm.
Well, with the 12-team playoff, yeah, I mean, at a place like LSU where the expectation is very high, if every year that you don't have an incredible year, your seat's going to get a little bit warmer. You coach in the SEC. Like, there's no... Very rarely is there just a seat that's cool for a really long time. So, yes, but aren't you just, isn't that just stating the obvious? Like that if you don't have success at LSU during a football season, your seat's going to be a little bit hotter on the next one. That's everybody. That goes for Florida, that goes for Alabama, that goes for Auburn, that just goes for everywhere in the SEC. Remember, if you donate and it's on topic, we will read it. I don't know why that was so hard for me to say,
Do it,
but let's continue.
All right, let's go to O. Danny's. He says, if Les Miles and Coach O can win a natty at LSU, why would the winningest coach at Notre Dame not be able to win one at LSU and become the new dynasty in the SEC? Go Tigers.
Well, it's
true.
Dynasty, it's capable. That's what I was talking about. LSU is capable. But for sure, I mean, one of the two previous coaches, one of them ate the grass, the other one smoked it, and they both won national championships. So yes, Brian Kelly, who's the ultimate CEO, a master builder, should be able to win a national championship or two, or maybe even three at LSU, depending on how long he's there. So yeah, again, that's one of the beautiful things about coaching at LSU is that you don't have to be Neil deGrasse Tyson to go win a national championship. Just take care of your business, stay organized, have good structure, have accountability, and the talent will bring itself in.
Which is just, even thinking back on this last season, it continues to shock me how bad they were on defense. With a historic offense.
Do you think it helped or hurt them to be that, like, because what did LSU end up winning? 9 games?
Yeah.
Ended up 9 games. Do you think it hurt them to have a Heisman winner, but kind of a mediocre season?
No. Well, you talking about? Are you saying
just
that
from recruiting?
Just like from the standpoint of like,
did having a good offense affect their defense?
You had a Heisman winner, okay, but your defense was that bad. It kind of just it shows you what could have been. Because look, you're not going to have another Jaden Daniels roll through that.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, you wasted a generational offense 4 years coming off another generational offense with Joe Burrow. I mean. Yes, and it's just weird seeing LSU be bad on defense in general. It's like watching your mom kiss another guy other than your dad. It's just weird to look at.
Yeah, and they were bad on defense this season before we knew that Jaden Daniels was going to have a historic season.
Well, as great and as elite as they were on offense, they were that bad on defense.
Historically bad.
Yeah, and that just surprises me for Brian Kelly, who had won the SEC West in his first year. And you just don't, like, you consider there to be a floor on both sides of the ball with a coach like Brian.
And with athletes like LSU has. I don't think, again, you could go out there and throw peanut butter and jelly and vanilla ice cream at people schematically on defense, and you should have good enough athletes where, number one, that may be the smartest way to go about it because they can go out there and run around and play. But watching them be so soft, because that's what it was. I'm going to call it spit. I mean, they were getting knocked off the ball like it was almost like we are going to give up points. Just how quickly can the defense get their ass off the field and put the offense back on there so we can just try and win a shootout?
Let's go to Eddie. He says, Brian Kelly going to Michigan would be like Brian Harsin going from Boise State to Auburn.
That's a good laugh on a Wednesday.
Yeah, it is. YouTube. Yeah. Hey, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when we drop all our content. And hey, go grab some merch because we got a hoodie.